Read, 15 minutes. 10th of August 2021. Episode 3. Weather, moist cavern inside, outside freezing and overcast dark thundery clouds. Summary. The morning birds in the Ullagarant range chirped into the air as the crew approached the multicolor relic and new guardian friend. The guardian friend undid the shield protecting them, then turned to place his hand for a moment on the relic nearby. The youthful physique of Kurila shined in the sun's glare as she stretched for today's combat. Baby Chocobo was eager to run around in the morning dew. The ruins guardian and Nestar's familiar Quid even jumped into the gymnastic stretching routine. As the muscles began to perform, so did Tom the Bard, playing a quiet arpeggio tune to boost their morning fitness. The crew escaped the reality of being in the middle of nowhere surrounded by the most deadly and ferocious beasts of the wilderness for just a measly 10 minutes that morning. Moving forward, the crew quickly got into the action. Time Zone, the illusionist gnome, went ahead as the smallest and able to assist in scouting. Funneling inward toward the entrance, many large engraved columns. They depicted a woman, the ocean, the ancient seals and Kuul deity, beautiful 30-foot-tall marble columns capitulating the origins of the life-light of good and the deathly darkened void of chaos. There lay nearby some giant bones, femurs, and colossal prehistory mastodon bones filling in between the soft ground of the ruins. Even the dew had a deadly aroma to its drips from the bleach-white remains on the ground, meaning one thing to Time Zone, that on top of being an archaeological site of prehistory, this place was a hub for adventurers caught at the mouth of a 10,000-year-old takeover involving the sealing off of planet-conquering dragons called wyverns and their mighty god lord of the Sky Bahamut, who did not allow humanity to thrive on this planet, being seals. Yet over the history the Kuul have evolved into something new in the fight to prevent the machinations of evildoers to unleash the ultimate evil upon the world. It was clear to Time Zone this time. The ancient story written on the walls foretell a conflict playing out between titans once again. Perhaps the crew could play a different position as the pieces fall, or perhaps will they adhere to the powerful lust of temptation. Nestar, the Sandorian wizard, calling upon Quid, his familiar, after participating in the crew's stretch routine with Kurila, stealthily fly forward onto the rightmost column to the right of the entrance to investigate a squad of Quan orcs. They seemed to be farmers with wooden sticks, poking and stumbling along curiously, perhaps for possible hidden relics from coffers of the ruins. Did undead await them at the next treasure chest, or an illusion of sorts? Nonetheless, the purple pulsating crystals, gigantic Weber spiders with long legs, mysterious flesh-devouring slime, or fresh corpses made the Quan orcs terrified and jumpy with anticipation. Poking behind the doorframe, one unlucky Quan orc poked an unsuspecting ooze awake. It crept as the Quan orc returned to his companions. The Quan orcs gave up and tried to decide who would work on the broken door first, yet due to orc tradition, the orc who spotted the error must fix. Quillark the orc should observe first, yet he is being observed on another task right now in a reporting before the other two could respect his command order. That's Quan orc tradition, tons of red tape and endless observational representation. Oh, it makes an orc wonder sometimes. Moving on. Yet on this special day in the Quan calendar, on this very special day, this mission in this particular on a stormy mountainous such as Quan and in this Ullagarant range, the Quan orcs had a signature vigor about them. They were especially eager to be the very first one to save the day with work, as it will usher in a good harvest and fortune for their den, and so they fought over who would observe and who would work on the broken door issue, which ran on just like a roguish gelatinous cube ooze, creeping onto the broken pieces of the wooden door, ever so slightly crawling, slowly beginning to grow in size from the consumption. Glowing neon green covering the entire stairs now. This was when suddenly two of the orcs were vulnerable and immediately pounced on by the two patient feral Denisi ice tigers. They went on nibbling at each corpse to fighting over the sanguine livers of the dead fallen. The windy, overcast ruins lay open to all, yet aroma of fresh blood lurked in the breeze. The crew continued steadfast deeper into the ruins, past the giant purple crystals, into the mysterious deeps of the Kuul ruins. Going deeper inside, thankfully Kurila decided to lend a hand in combat and offer some leadership. 3 Kenku surrounded the corpse of a large fallen guardian. They chanted and managed to abjurate the soul from the guardian, Nick the humanoid life cleric was resurrected in the process, who entered the crew and the campaign. Nick introduced himself to the crew at 37 minutes and 20 seconds. This colossal-sized creature, called Ashi Noriji, emits molten flare from its mouth, ready to chomp down. Its beady fiery eyes and spiky purple-red scales, ready to clamp down. Roll initiative. The gnome wizard spent most of the battle trying to trick the creature to fall into the gelatinous cube, but somehow managed to juke it a little to the right and left. Nestar took flank of the large creature and J-Bandy did work at the front line. Ashi was now facing a cube the size of it as the crew kept it in position locked in place as Kurila ran forward to assist J-Bandy at the front line. Ashi finally had a turn and successfully charmed Nestar, who immediately left flank to ran toward one of the nearby cubes to combat it. The intention was to charm both J-Bandy and Nestar, but J-Bandy shook that shit off like nothing. The lethal gelatinous cubes were a very prominent force on the battlefield. Tom finally came in for the killing blow on the creature, yet now he is at the front of the marching order. Upon slaying the beast, 2 slaves were being whipped and abused by 2 red slods. These 2 red slods, not a death slods despite the token usage LOL, exchanged words with Tom the Bard regarding treatment of said slave women and a 2-headed dog being the problem of Tom's. The crew decided to be heroic finally and stop being bystanders to the inequities of the selfish men, or slod, or anything anymore. Let's see how long that lasts. Eventually, they will miss the temptation once more. Do such conditionless acts shine favors by some surveillance god or willing judgment, tried and represented via a considerate witness testimony on their very souls? Even if a god worth worshipping, though the simple reviewing of previously witnessed rights and wrongs from more than 3 innocent people, or say Quan farmers, be slaughtered by their hands and then eaten alive by tigers in Quan before these very steps in this very ruins. But I digress. The temptation to thrive is strong in man's desire for glory. Similar in the orcs, yet the elders must still tell the orc children of the dead farmer fathers slayed by this very crew and beseech, will I ever see their fathers again for the nocturnal ceremony of dancing food family grace of the Quan villagers after a long full day of defending the Quan Mount instead? No. Not for these adventurers. Sadly, the crew has caused much upset among the younglings. Our humanity emboldens our compassion toward all living creatures. Care they need. Love they deserve. May God have mercy on your souls. Alas, the crew destroyed 2 red slods and saved 2 humans and a dog. The 2 women plus Doge quickly followed the trail back into town. They returned safely to their homes. The crew began to examine the ooze some, but J-Bandy noticed tigers were still looming ahead. It was at that moment, J-Bandy walked up to the group of unsuspecting Denisi tigers and used shrapnel breath. The tigers were immediately petrified in place by bits of sword and armor. At 2 hours 5 minutes and 50 seconds. The long battle was over. For now, the slaves were set free and a new bizarre dwarf named Goliath appeared at the end of the tunnel. He is offering his assistance with the slime or ooze or whatever and may be able to use it as a tactical item to destroy enemies. Before he continued his experimentations, he revealed a new path for the crew to venture forward. The party had a short rest while Goliath explained the many notes he's gathered on the ooze since he'd been there 2 whole days since Cam left him. Time Zone took note. It was a sight to see the dwarf spoke at eye level with the gnome attenuating the story in written form. Cam told Goliath the situation was going great until 3 days ago he suddenly bust into my lab and said he was going to personally escort him to study the slime this time, so they were off. I took the opportunity and here I am, explained the verbose dwarf Goliath artificer from Jano. Goliath agreed to help Time Zone learn specifics on the bot machines he uses to control the slime and jar them. He's also promising to be an asset to the crew if they assume to return to Jano. He only asks for a small compensation and safe travel home. The terms were loose, but the party was beginning to form trust with powerful people in Vanadile even in the beginning arc of their journey. The bold adventurers form new bonds as they unleash an evil upon the world which we'll never forget, and captured in fable perhaps. The gelatinous cube though will continue to consume life, mindlessly devouring living flesh of anything within its slimy ooze. The ooze is sensitive though it loves music and hates aggressive stuff. It is able to be propagated if teased with a gyroscope instrument. According to Goliath, the artificer companion barked at Time Zone, quickly finding extra parts of a page for notes. Goliath offered the crew 8 large jars of 20 feet diameter cube panchins and 40 small jars of 5-foot diameter cube panchins gelatinous cube Molotov, which explode in gelatinous ooze pieces onto the target, consuming it slowly into a large gelatinous cube. The process is irreversible and patent pending. Time Zone wandered off from the note-taking from Goliath for a moment. The bone tusk of the ancient creatures had engravings on them. It showed many triumphs and tales of kings using this cave as a holy site of the ancient Kuul. Suddenly, Time Zone began to notice a pattern in the hieroglyphs. The lines read Kolodi, followed with the dark, and dark being the place the mother repelled outside on the entrance columns. Connections. This particular headdress of small arms is Kolodi, a prominent foe of the Kuul etching history. It is remarkably on many parts of the engravings. Either Kolodi was a judge, a god, a foe, or just a powerful wizard who bested the Kuul with its massive hybrid fiends. Time Zone needed more to draw a better conclusion, but suspected Kolodi to blame for the violence against the Kuul and the need for protection. Finding an appropriately sized of tusk bone to collect, Time Zone kept it as a memento of the event and potential examination specimen later. Kolibri helped by keeping Time Zone company as a faithful friend before the Kuul figures and tiger engravings becoming illuminated by his marble-like gnome eyes. This rich history of the Kuul in these beautiful engravings of this ancient species. It was now certain to Time Zone the Kuul are intelligent and a creative species with good faith and will in mind in its traditions. Staring at his new memento as he joined up with the rest of the crew, he still wondered what really happened to the Kuul and what role did Kolodi play. Time Zone insisted the crew take at least one of the large and a few of the small jars of ooze. Will this decision be in the favor of the crew? Next, the crew proceed forward deeper into the ruins after Goliath revealed a path. Entering the new path, the walls were made of crystals, mostly ice, but some were purple. The crew slowly stepped into the cavern, weapons raised and eyes open. Time Zone, Tom, Nestar, and J Bandy the Warforged led the group forward. Nick, Kurila, the wagon, and their baby Chocobo followed along, squeaking and squawking, but mostly by the pink Kolibri following behind. 3 sets of Buffalo King eyes glowed in the foreground before the lit pond melting a now battlefield of ice within the cavern. Shimmering streams of light escaped in from above them of the mountaintop, rain dripping drops occasionally to echo within the crystal walls of the room. 2 groups of ninjas advanced on the other adventurer groups for battle. At least 10 fully dressed, armored-out, weapons drawn in the illuminated ice arena of blood began the swinging dance of death against the ninjas, who made quick work of the uncoordinated. All the adventurers were taken out by ninjas, yet one person drowned in the ice pool in the middle of the room. Many cubes of green oozes rolled or oozed its way on slowly over to consume it, while the rest of the adventurers' corpses were missing. 2 groups of ninjas slowly made their way around the crew. They slowly walked into their blind sides. Nestar quickly alarmed the crew of the impending doom. The crew quickly destroyed the left group of ninjas after Tom the Bard kept right group busy by telling them the worst ninja joke he could imagine. The final group of ninjas dropped their arms to their sides as they stared behind them at the eyes charging into vision from deeper in the cave. 3 enormous-sized Buffalo King charged into the battlefield. They began their charge to build momentum for 20 feet in a line, then tackled the crew and ninjas at a total of 40 feet, charging head-on, causing a knockout-prone strength saving throw for them all, with some receiving a free stomp attack roll. One by one the crew fought back the buffalo and few remaining ninjas, but sadly only one of the Buffalo King carcasses remained to be loaded, with most of the loot being consumed by ooze. I guess the crew can settle for a moment to gather their thoughts on the next monstrosity leering behind the next patch of crystal wall into the unknown with wonder as Urzulia unfolds before the PCs. It was now becoming ever more dangerous beyond the walls of the sanctuary of Jano, deeper into the wilderness of Vanadile, and the pieces are beginning to be set in this grand tale and great heights of lost history in restoring mankind. The search for Cam and the restoration of the teleportation Vahslo crystal continues as a quest for friendship and safety among the crew begins to blossom into lifelong friendships. Will they continue to do acts of bravery the heroic path needs, or will they fall into the depravity of miscellaneous oozes running about? Find out next time on Dragon Ball Z.